Then on Sports Central, we go for a college football game preview and prediction on the Week 13 matchup between the Indiana Hoosiers and the Ohio State Buckeyes. A top 5 matchup coming up here in Week 13. Who would have expected this back in the preseason, that we'd be seeing a top 5 matchup between Ohio State and Indiana here in November? But here we are. Both these teams are true national contenders. We'll be covering a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today. So with that, let's get started with your team trends. Indiana beat Michigan 20-15 in their last matchup. They had a bye week last week, so Indiana's coming off of a bye here. Ohio State this past week beat Northwestern 31-7. You got a 10-0 Indiana team. First 10-0 start in school history. It's been quite a season for the Hoosiers, to say the least, so far, taking on Ohio State, who is, they were expected in the preseason to be a true national contender, and that's exactly what they are. Indiana on the other side is a huge surprise team that no one really would have expected to be in this position, except for Kurt Cignetti, of course, who called it back in the preseason. But at this point, you got two teams ranked in the top 5, both national contenders. Ohio State is obviously a very talented roster. In Indiana, this is the first ranked team that they have played all season. I'm not saying that Indiana is maybe an overrated team. I'm not saying that at all. If you look at the way that Indiana's played this season, they've been dominant in every single game. They've hardly trailed any team at all this season. But I am saying that this is by far the best team that Indiana has played this season. So it's going to be a true test for the Hoosiers here. Games will be on Saturday in Columbus, noon Eastern. The kickoff spread's going Ohio State by 12 here. So Buckeyes are a pretty heavy favorite, given the fact that Indiana's a 10-0 team heading into this one, over under 51.5. And the FPI going on the Ohio State side, 73%. You look at the series history, though. This is what is truly insane to me. Ohio State leads at 79-12 overall. They've won 28 straight against Indiana. Last time the Hoosiers beat Ohio State was 1988. That was 36 years ago. So, for Indiana, that basically, that just shows that Indiana's just not, historically, they're just not a football program. That's why this season is just so insane. The fact that this is a 10-0 team ranked 5th in the country, this is pretty significant what's happening here with Indiana this season. And 28 straight wins for Ohio State against Indiana. This is a massive opportunity here for the Hoosiers heading into this week. Your stat comparison: Indiana 3rd in points per game, 7th in points allowed. This is actually a really well-balanced team overall. They're strong on offense, strong on defense. You could say the main weakness is maybe in the rush game, where they're 62nd there, but the rush game isn't even really that bad. Justice Ellison has had a strong season for this team. So overall, this is a really strong team overall so far this year, 2nd in the country in rush defense. That should not go overlooked. For Ohio State, you look at this team, 8th in points per game, 1st in points allowed. So I guess you could say Ohio State is the best defense in the country this season, at least from what we've seen so far. It makes sense. This defense has been consistent and dominant as ever this season. You compare the offense with the defense. The offense at times has been a bit inconsistent for Ohio State. They haven't been playing at a really high level every single game this year. Against Northwestern, kind of a slow start, even though they pulled away, so it didn't really matter. But main example is against Nebraska. Put up 21 points in that game. Got the win, obviously, but the offense really just didn't look very good. They have found ways to win games, and point being, this defense has been the main constant of this team. The defense has been brutal all year, and that's what this team can heavily rely on heading into the main part and the championship part of this 2024 season. But your recent matchups: Indiana beat Michigan 20-15, beat Michigan State 47-10. Overall, this has been a really dominant team this year. I mentioned it before, this team has not played a ranked team this year, which is definitely a bit surprising, but at the same time, you look at the way that this team has won their games. That's what truly matters. It's not like they've had 10 close wins. They've had a couple of closer wins. The Michigan game was the main close game that they've played this season, but otherwise, this team has been dominant week in, week out, every single game, and that's how you know that a team is for real. Indiana is for real this season, despite not playing a ranked team so far. Ohio State beat Northwestern 31-7, beat Purdue 45-0. I mean, their main big win this year so far is against Penn State for sure. Beat them by a touchdown on the road. I mean, to go on the road there, Penn State is a legit team this season. That was a really impressive win there. Did lose to Oregon, but I mean, once again, otherwise, you look at Ohio State this year, this is a consistent team that's especially brutal on defense. And I mean, once again, with the offense, the upside that this team has on offense, that's something that I really look at as well. I feel like if this offense can really reach that next level, I mean, that's really something that we could see shine, I think, in this matchup. And if we do, Ohio State could definitely win the national championship this season. Your key points: the Hoosiers are 10-0, 7-0 in conference. They are well coached and dangerous. I mean, well coached is the main thing. Kurt Signetti, what he has done with this team this year, I mean, once again, this is something that we might not see for a long time happen again. Indiana being a team that's just not been very good. They were okay in 2020, but otherwise, I mean, this team has just been a shipwreck pretty much for decades. And so to see what this team has done in 2024, this has been pretty incredible what has happened here with the Hoosiers. This is a consistently dominant team on both sides, and first ranked team once again that the Hoosiers have faced. But I mean, this team is ready for Ohio State. We have seen it this season. How well coached of a team that this team is, they should be able to hang with Ohio State in this matchup. You look at Ohio State on the other side, brutal team, especially on defense, arguably the most talented roster in the country. And the most important one, this team has not lost to Indiana in 36 years. Truly just an insane stat to me once again. And I mean, regardless of that, regardless of everything, this is still a top 5 matchup. And you look at this season in particular, just the implications on this season. And the winner of this matchup, obviously in a really good position to make it to the Big Ten title game. Your main 3 teams. I mean, you got Penn State in there as well, but Oregon, Indiana, Ohio State obviously up there. Feels like the winner of this game is going to be who takes on Oregon for the Big Ten title. So it's basically a playing game to the Big Ten championship, which obviously can lead to a top 4 seed or even most likely the number 1 seed overall in the college football playoff. So with that, let's get the prediction here for Indiana and Ohio State. Big matchup coming up here in week 13. And with that, do want to go with Ohio State here. I'm going with the Buckeyes 27-20. I just feel like, I mean, I know Indiana 10-0, both teams are really strong this season. Indiana in particular has been a huge standout. But this is where I think Indiana does drop one. Ohio State, I mean, this team, just how talented, consistent, and dominant they are on both sides. They're going to find a way to win this game, especially with it being in the Horseshoe. I mean, if it was at Indiana, I mean, that would be a dangerous situation, I think, for the Buckeyes. But I do have some pretty high confidence that Ohio State finds a way to win this one. I just feel like, I mean, Ohio State's not going to be sleepwalking going into this one. They know that Indiana's 10-0. They know that they're a top 5 team. They're going to be well prepared. And I feel like when you get 2 well-prepared teams, Ohio State with the talent that they have against Indiana, who's obviously talented and they've found ways to win, but I just feel like Ohio State's upside and the talent of Ohio State is just going to be too much here. I'm taking the Buckeyes to win it in the end. I'm taking the under as well. I do have IU covering. I think Ohio State wins it by a touchdown at least, but the spread being at 12, I do think IU at least keeps it close enough to the point where they cover, but give me Ohio State to find a way to win what is a huge matchup coming up here in week 13. So with that, let me know your thoughts and comments below on this matchup, your score predictions, all of that. And I appreciate you guys watching as always. My name is Evan. This is All Sports Central. Stay tuned for more. We'll catch you on the next one.